Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to look for assessments in the Texas State Library database system. Let me start by explaining how to do that. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is go to the library website and Texas State Library website, which is library.texasstate.edu. When you get here, you want to click on the right side here at Research Databases. You want to go to Psychology and Counseling, and then you're going to get a long list of various databases that are relevant to counseling and psychology. So we're going to start by going down to PsycInfo because that's one of the most used databases for what we're going to be looking for. So let's do that. PsycInfo right here. Now, for the sake of this particular search, since you're looking specifically for assessments, you want to go to Choose Databases. And actually, for this sake, again, we're just looking for assessments, so we're not going to be looking for articles just yet. We're going to get there, but for now, we're just going to be looking at assessments. So I'm going to uncheck the PsycInfo box and instead select PsycTests and the Mental Measurements Yearbook. These two databases combined contain a ton of psychological assessments, and that's what we're looking for this particular part. Now I'm going to click OK. And so everything that I search now is going to be searched in the Mental Measurements Yearbook and PsycTests. So let's say that I want to look for assessments that have to do with attachment. So let me do that. Attachment. I'm going to click Search. And now I'm going to get a long list of attachment questionnaires. Now, when we're looking for assessments, we want to make sure that they're valid, reliable. So this is really just the first step in looking for assessments, okay? So we're going to just kind of scroll down, see if there's anything interesting here. Seems like there are some really good ones. Okay. All right, so primary attachment style questionnaire. Let's start with that one. Okay, so the primary attachment style questionnaire before the age of 12. Well, we're actually not going to be looking for, we're not going to be looking at participants that are before the age of 12, but let's check this out anyway. So let's click full text, get the PDF. All right, so this is a typical page that you're going to get to see. You're going to start seeing sort of just basic information about that particular assessment. If you keep scrolling, a lot of times you'll see the assessment too, but not always. So sometimes the assessment isn't going to be published and publicly available. So this one is before the age of 12. Okay, actually this one might be good anyway, because we're looking at before the age of 12, not participants who are before the age of 12. Okay, that makes sense. So let's just look at this at face value. Okay, my primary caregiver was with me when I needed them. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good questionnaire here. And I think this one actually has a short version too, because this is really long. It also gives us scoring instructions. So if I were you looking for attachment questionnaires, this is probably something I would want to save and look into a little bit further. Now let's go back to the result list. So let's say that you found an assessment that looked like it was going to be good. So you'll remember that it was called the primary attachment questionnaire. So now let's go ahead and try to find some articles that talk more about that assessment. So let's go back to Choose Databases. Now let's add in PsycInfo and Eric. because this is now going to help us look for articles that have to do with this particular assessment. So let's do primary attachment questionnaire and see if we can find some good articles on that one. Okay, great. So here we have the primary attachment style questionnaire, a brief measure. Okay, so this looks good. Let's click on that one and see if anything comes up. And we'll go to full text finder. If it's not opening, we'll want to launch it in a new window. Okay, so here is the more information about that assessment. So this is really where you want to do a lot of your work. Primary assessment, primary attachment style questionnaire. Okay, so here it talks about the history of this assessment, the validation. So this is the important part here. We're looking at psychometric properties, okay? When we talk about psychometric properties, that really means reliability and validity. So we want to make sure that this is not just a survey that someone created and didn't really do any research on. We want to make sure that it's an assessment that's valid and reliable. So you're going to be looking for this part and see what their findings were. So was the assessment valid and reliable? And so you'll look through all of this. They're talking about the population. So in their first study, they look at college students, romantic attachment, so on and so forth. In this study, they looked at more college students. So that probably fits in terms of the population that we're looking for. It's adults. Then this is sort of what they found. They found that most people were in secure attachments, 20% were in preoccupied or anxious attachment, and 33% experienced avoidant attachment, and then 11% experienced fearful attachment. And again, this is overlapping because not everyone is perfectly in one particular attachment style. They had more studies, more stats. So this is good. They have a lot of details here. Now here at the very end, they're publishing their study, which is great. Or they're publishing their assessment. So we can probably use that. So this is the long version. So this one still has a lot of items. I think that these particular authors actually also created a short version with only 15 items. That would be ideal for us. We want to have really, if we can, short ones. So let's go back to our search results. And so we can keep looking, looking for what else there is. Let's see, this might be the same one that we had already looked at. So let's take a look again. Let's do the full text PDF. Okay. And here we go again. So this one is still a long version, but we might be able to use it anyway. But anyway, so you might want to look for, so this one actually has 42 items. I think again that with this particular one, you might have one that's only 15 items. So you want to keep looking and seeing, are there short versions? Are there brief versions of particular tests? Now, when you have found an assessment that might be something to use, you want to keep looking for other ones. So you don't want to just find one attachment questionnaire, you want to find several different ones. Then you also want to fill in the information in the database that I will create for you guys. And so you want to sort of start making a list of the attachments. So you'll put the name of the attachment, you'll put information about norming groups, which would be, the college students, for example. If there's information about ethnicity and race, that's something to put in there. Then you also want to add information about the psychometric properties. So you want to talk about the reliability, the validity, what did they find in the different studies. You also want to see if you can find other studies that actually utilize this particular questionnaire. So maybe there's research articles where they did a study looking at whatever factor, but they used this questionnaire as part of their data collection. So you want to find those studies as well. So basically what you're doing is you're compiling sort of a folder with different attachment questionnaires or whatever questionnaire you're looking at. You're looking for supporting data for those attachments, for those questionnaires. You're collecting, if you can, the actual assessment. Some of them are publicly available for us to use. That would be ideal. So you're collecting the scales. And so you're saving all this information, and then when you're done looking for all of your questionnaires, you upload that information onto our track site, and that way we can review it together. So I think that's a pretty good overview of what you're doing for this next step. And if there's anything else at this point, let's just contact me and I can, answer any questions that you have.